نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. ولا تسعر خدك للناس ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير. Respectful honorable friends, in these verses recited, we continue with making mention of some of the advice that Luqmaan had given his son. In the opening verse, Allah mentions, يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. That, O my son, أقم الصلاة, establish the salah. وأمر بالمعروف, instruct good. وانه عن المنكر, and forbid evil. So, Ya bunayya aqim as-salah. O son, establish salah. Now this is imperative, important, because this is the most important ibadah. Hence there is mention of salah. And as we have mentioned previously on numerous occasions, aqim as-salah means to establish salah. And establishing salah is not just performing salah, it is to bring salat in our lives, perform salat with all the conditions and all the requirements for salat. This is what establishing salat is. And further he mentions that وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. That establishing of salat is for the benefit of a person themselves. We will read salat, we will benefit from it. But deen is not just about oneself. There is also the islah of other people as well. For that Allah Ta'ala says that وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. That Luqmaan said to his son that instruct others to do good, وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and prevent evil. So this is also from the various requirements that a mu'min, a believer, should be doing. Although the responsibility of amal bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar differs, the responsibility of an alim over those who are not alim is much greater. And then that person who is the head of the clan, you can say, head of his family, his duty increases over those who may not be. So the duty of amal bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar will differ. But it is something that society needs. And amal bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar is towards the islah of other people as well. That the believer should not be one that just sees towards himself or herself, and when they see evil around, They do not forbid evil. They do not give advice to others. So Allah Ta'ala says, وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, instruct others to do good, and also وَنْهَى عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and forbid evil. And because these are two things which are very difficult, and especially nahi and munkar. Amal bil ma'ruf isn't as difficult, although today people don't do that as well. Nahi and munkar is very difficult. To prevent people, to tell people what are the wrongs in society, to prevent them, to mention fazail and give people targheeb isn't too difficult. Because people do not become offended by that. That isn't something that they're going to dislike. But when it comes to nahi and munkar, then yes, you're going to have to ruffle a few feathers there. People are not going to be too happy with regards to nahi and munkar. Hence a person feels safety is what? Just stay at amal bil ma'roof and leave the nahi and munkar. The Imam was saying the same, if I just stick to amal bil ma'roof, when everyone, amal bil ma'roof is fazail, then everybody will like me. The Muqarrir is the same as well. If my lecture just keep fazail, everybody will be happy. But the moment you come onto a nahi and al-munkar, that's when people start disliking you. And for that Allah Ta'ala says, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ, and patiently endure whatever afflicts you. Because in doing nahi and munkar, then difficulty will come in your way. Because people are not going to like you. People are not going to be happy with your nahi and munkar. And all the wrongs which are prevalent in society, and these wrongs exist because we have stopped doing nahi and munkar. Hazrat Shah Abdul Haq Sahib Rahmatullahi, the whole purpose of Da'watul Haq was to establish both amal bil ma'roof and nahi and munkar. And Hazrat Shah Abdul Haq Sahib Rahmatullahi would mention that there is a Jamaat that is doing amal bil ma'roof, referring to as a Tabligh Jamaat. And he would say that there is a need for a Jamaat to do nahi and munkar as well. Because the Tabligh Jamaat are not going to do nahi and munkar. They will just do amal bil ma'roof, but more just of fazail in actual fact, not even amal bil ma'roof. So there won't be anybody doing nahi and munkar, so there needs to be a Jamaat that does nahi and munkar as well. And there is admonishment mentioned with regard to those who stop doing nahi bil ma'roof and nahi munkar. In one riwayat, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that Allah Ta'ala says that instruct people to do good and nahi and munkar. Otherwise, the consequences of not doing all bil ma'roof and nahi munkar is that you will ask from me, but your du'as will not be answered. You will supplicate to me, your du'as will not be answered. You will seek assistance from me, but you will not find assistance. These are from the harms that Allah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned in Hadith with regards to those who do not do amal bil ma'roof and nahi and munkar. That the help and the nusrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dependent on amal bil ma'roof and nahi and munkar. And if we don't do, then humiliation will come upon the ummah. And in not doing nahi and munkar, one of the harms is that those who are content in doing their own little bit of ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking that they are fine by just staying to that. And where they do see nahi and munkar, as I mentioned to you, everybody's responsibility is different. There is nahi and munkar needed within our homes. The father, the head of the house, can see that look, there are wrongs happening in the house, in the extended family, on the occasions of our weddings, on the occasion of our funerals, and other gatherings within our own families. So there are those who are of understanding, those who are the leaders of the family, the heads of the family, then they should be doing nahi and munkar. And many are those who know and realize that look, these are the wrongs that are happening. They themselves will be those who will be going out in tabligh. They'll be the ones who will be in the khanqa as well. They'll be the ones who will be in the masjid and punctual on their own ibadat and content on that, as I mentioned in the Wednesday majlis. If we haven't understand what deen is, we have just restricted deen and deendari to what? The 5 times daily salah. So that musalli who is punctual on his daily 5 times daily salah and he thinks that's it, that is what deen is all about. And he hasn't got a clue at all with regards to what deen actually is. And he's just content on that. He's happy to the fact that his children, his wife and children are snoozing away, sleeping away. But he's getting up and he's coming to the masjid and he's reading his Salatul Jamaat. No waking them up, no worrying about them whatsoever. He's happy to the fact that he is coming and going from masjid to the house, masjid to the house. But there is no establishment of salat within the home. And those within the home are doing wrong things. And the father just turns a blind eye to it. Despite the fact of being in a position of bringing a halt to it, or at least doing the nahi and munkar. But no, it's just a case of overlooking these things. I'm content, I'm doing my own ibadat and leaving it to that. The harms of that is that even those who do good will also be inflicted with the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As in one hadith, the Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives an example of those who do righteous deeds, but then they do not do amal bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives the example of passengers on a boat, on a ship. That they've all come onto the ship. Now there is the lower deck and there is the upper deck. So because so many have already purchased the seat, but who will take the upper and who will take the bottom? For that they draw lots. And accordingly their seats are destined. So there are those who will go to the upper deck and those at the bottom. After they've settled in, the water tank is on the upper deck. So those who are on top, for them is no issue at all. They can always take the water whenever they want. But those who are on the lower deck, each time they want water, they need to come to the top deck. From there they take the water, and because they now come to the tank on top, in taking the water from there, they start disturbing those who are on the top deck. They fill their jugs and their water bottles and that. And now when they're passing by, they may be spilling it here and there, so people on top are getting a bit upset by this, disturbed by it. So those at the lower deck, they decide, look, why not make it easy inside? They've got a tank on top, they can make use of that. After all, we've got enough water underneath us. So why disturb those on top? Just tell them, look, sorry for disturbing you. We're no longer going to disturb you. What we're going to do is we'll just drill a hole in the lower deck and we'll have access to as much water that even if your tank finishes, you can come and borrow some water from us. So they say that to those on top. Those on top are not in any concern at all because they've got their water on top. But if they are to keep quiet and they allow them to do what they are going to do, what will happen? Those on the lower deck will also sink and drown, and they will also take with them those who are on the upper deck as well. Why? Because those on the upper deck, they are not the ones who drilled the hole, but they are the ones who remain quiet upon it. They didn't hold their hand, as Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, that they didn't hold their hand and stop them and prevent them from doing that. So the destruction will come upon both. So this is what happens when we stop doing amal bil ma'ruf and nahi munkar. That although we may feel content that we are not doing the munkar, but because we are seeing the munkar, we do not stop it, the azab of that will come upon everybody as well. That's why it's important to do amal bil ma'ruf and nahi munkar. And then wasbir ala ma asabak, inna dhalika min azmi al-umur. Allah Ta'ala mentions verily this, meaning what? Wasbir ala ma asabak. The ability to bear difficulties with patience is from amongst the most absolute of matters, azmi al-umur, meaning the most courageous of matters, and determination for a person to be able to take these difficulties and bear it with patience. Further, Surah Luqmaan mentions to his son, and at the same time, وَلَا تُسَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. These are all adab al-ma'ashar. These are all adab of society. That وَلَا تُسَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. One. And then وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. He mentions one is, and do not turn your face. Tusair khaddaka, khadda means your cheek. To turn your cheek linnasi to people. The word tusa'i from sa'a is refers towards an illness. And this illness is predominantly found in camels, which we can term as being a stiff neck. But a stiff neck towards any one of the sides. That is what sa'ar means. And from that Allah Ta'ala mentions, وَلَا تُسَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ, that do not turn your face, meaning to turn your face away from people. That when you are addressing, when you are being addressed or when you are speaking to people, then out of pride, do not keep your gazes lowered down and not look at that person. Do not keep your face away from that person out of what? Out of arrogance. That why should we look face to face to that person? So out of arrogance to keep the face away, or not to turn towards the one who is addressing you. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here. And this is also against the sunnah of Nabi Kareem. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whenever anybody would call or Nabi, or anybody would address Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Nabi would fully be attentive towards them. He would be fully attentive towards them. That Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam showed that individual person would know that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is not ignoring me. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is fully aware of what I am saying. And thereafter Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he would deem so, he would reply, he would say something. And there would be times wherein Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would not reply as well. There were occasions wherein the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala would be sat with Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they are having their own conversations. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would not be directly involved in their conversation, but neither would Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam make himself totally disassociated from them. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would be sat with them, looking at them, that they would assume that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is also part of the conversation. But Nabi Kareem is just allowing the Sahaba to have their own chit-chat, their own conversation. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would not have that sort of exclusiveness or show of pride and arrogance. That look, there's no need for me, bother for me to be listening to what you are saying. وَلَا تُسَيْرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. And then وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. And do not walk arrogantly on earth. Which is all towards what? Pride and arrogance. Because in Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatly detests every mukhtal and fakhur. Mukhtal is one who is arrogant. And fakhur is one who boasts. So that person is arrogant, and usually these two come together. The one who boasts is one who is arrogant, and the one who is arrogant, then he's going to boast as well. This is a quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala totally dislikes. Pride, arrogance, and boasting. Qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in Allah, la yuhibbu, Allah ta'ala dislikes, detests these qualities. And these are those qualities which we should abstain from, stay away from. Because we are not worthy of this at all. If there is anybody who is worthy of having pride, it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because وَلَهُ الْكِبْرِيَاءُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, Kibriyai, greatness only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can. Al-Kibriya'u hidayah. In Hadith Qudsi Allah mentions that greatness is what? This is my garment. Nobody else can share this garment with me. And the one who does try to, then I will destroy him. Pride and arrogance is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatly dislikes. It takes a person far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Person who has pride and arrogance does not get the chance to do khidmat of the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To that extent, a person with pride and arrogance is even deprived of dua, is even deprived of what? Of making tawbah istighfar. Because one who is proud and one who has arrogance won't even accept their fault. Who makes tawbah? The one who accepts that they have done wrong is the one, and they have sinned is the one who is going to make tawbah. The one who has pride and arrogance doesn't accept that they've done wrong. They're not going to make tawbah. They won't even raise their hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they feel they're not in need to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And abdiyyat means what? Humility towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who repents has humility in him. The one who raises his hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to have humility within him. And the more humility there is, that is what is greatly liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And insan is after all. That's why Allah ta'ala says, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That look, where are you? You are walking on earth. You're not walking in the heavens. If you had the power and you're walking in the heavens, then fine, you can have pride. But here, where are you? وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ. You walk on the earth. So when you have been created to walk on earth, then remain on earth. Don't be that you're walking on earth, but your head is where? In the heaven, high in the sky there. So you're on earth, keep low down as well. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is created, and this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from insan as well, that you remain in this way. And who will? The one who realizes what his haqiqat and reality is. As Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala was very beautifully has put it, that what is your haqiqat, what is your reality? Your reality is that you have passed twice through the private organs. This is what your reality is. That twice you have passed through the private organs. On 2 occasions. This is what your haqiqat, what your reality is. When this is what your reality and haqiqat is, then you have no rights whatsoever to have pride and arrogance in you. So, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَاحًا. And then further Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here, وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشِّكْ. And this is very linked, related, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَاحًا. Allah Ta'ala says, and moderate your walk. Meaning that be calm and composed and modest in your walk. So وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشِّكْ. That a person should not walk hastily. The hadith as well, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has prohibited from walking hastily as the Yahudu would. And do not walk too slow as the Christians would. Abdul Masud radiallahu anhu mentioned that we are prohibited from these type of walks. Maybe not now in our society, but that was maybe how they would walk at that time. So, a person should not walk too hastily, because if you're going to walk in such a manner, you're not going to look good first of all, and you're going to bring about difficulty upon yourself and others as well. And at the same time, one should not walk too slowly as well. That's why Allah says, وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشِّكْ, that there should be moderation in your walk, which means with a swift pace, not too slow and not one that is too fast. On one occasion, Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha saw a person and he was walking very slowly. Sayyidah Aisha asked, who is this person? Why is he walking in such a manner? To which somebody mentioned that he is from the Qur'an. The Qur'an were well known, those who would sit on the stage and entertain the people with their Qur'an. With 20, 30 different types of qiraat of different imams, and this is not qiraat, this is entertainment. This is entertainment. If you want to listen to 10 different qaris, then just listen separately to 10 different qaris. What is there really any reward or sawab in that? In my understanding of it, this is just entertainment. Yes, we have qiraat jalsas. You have programs wherein a qari will read the Qur'an, you listen to the Qur'an, the sawab will listen to the Qur'an. You hear the words of the Qur'an. It has an effect on you as well. But this for a person to entertain people by reading and changing, you reading in one style, and then all of a sudden you change from one imam to the next channel, another imam, and then another third imam, and a fourth, fifth, and seventh imam, one ayat, this imam, second ayat, this imam, third imam, this imam. There may be those who understand the virtue of this, but I still haven't understood the virtue of it, and the only thing I've understood of this is it is just mere entertainment to pull a crowd and entertain the people. So anyhow, people say this is the Qur'an. The Qur'an was those who had knowledge of the Qur'an. And there are amal on the Qur'an as well. They were the learned ones of the Sahaba. That's when she was told that this is from the Qur'an, then Sayyidina Aisha said that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala was a better qari than him, the most learned. But he would not walk in such a manner. Even he would not walk in such a manner. When Umar would walk, he would walk swiftly. And he would not walk in such a slow manner. So that is what something that is disliked, that you walk too slowly. On one occasion, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala actually did see somebody walking in a manner as if they almost any time now they're going to reach the grave. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala really disliked that, and he took his whip out as well. That walk straight, walk properly. Walk sit fi masjid, otherwise you'll get a few and then definitely you'll start walking properly. Why? Because this is the shan of a believer. And why this is mentioned here as well is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Do not walk arrogantly on earth. So now a person may think that in order not to be arrogant, that I need to walk with humility. And assume that your walking with humility is that you walk in such a manner that your head is low, your body is low, your back is bent, and you're just looking on the ground the whole time and walking in such a manner that this is how I should be walking. Whether it is humility in my physique and in my style. So a person may think that this is what humility is. Because this is what we think as well. That person who sits in such a manner, or that person who walks in such a manner, we take that to be what humility is. Whereas that isn't what humility is. Humility is tawazi was in our nafs, where there is, the nafs is bowed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Shah Abdul Haq Sahib rahmatullahi would give this example and say that this is what tawazu truly is. Because a person could be sat on the stage and he has tawazu. And there could be a person who is sat on the floor and not on the stage and he has pride and arrogance. How? There will be those who, they call Hazrat stage by stage and who comes on the stage, who will be sat down on the stage. Those looking may think that look at these people, they've got pride and arrogance, they sat down on the stage, big shots on the stage. But in their hearts, they do not have pride and arrogance. In their heart, they do not have pride and arrogance. And then you have those who, Hazrat Tashif light. But in doing so, their pride and arrogance is not default all the time. There will be those who truly have humility, who don't want to be on the stage, they don't want to be center stage. But there will be those who might do that, the act of humility, but there is pride and arrogance behind that. Because it is there to show that people to see that, look, I have humility within me. But in actual fact, it isn't. It is just show that. So they have pride in them. Look, others went on the stage and I showed my humility and I just stayed here with them. That is pride and arrogance there. So there is that which is just a show and pretense of things. As Zunun Misri rahimahullah ta'ala, when people would praise him, say anything, he'll become very pleased with it. He'll become chuffed, you can say. So those who are onlookers will think that, look what's happening here. This is pride. People will praise him, say something good about him and he's getting happy about it. So on one occasion somebody asked him with regards, he said, we don't understand this. There will be those who should be shaking their heads and putting their heads down, and that when somebody praises them, that this show express of happiness and pleasure. To which he said that when anybody praises me, in actual fact it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala is putting the like of me in his heart. Allah ta'ala is putting those praises in him, so he's praising me, so those praises are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why should not be pleased with that? So there was the times wherein there is show. That which we see may seem to be pride and arrogance, but in actual fact it's not pride and arrogance. It's a kayfiyat which is within the heart. So there may be those who think وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا means that no, I need to be walking in such a manner. Just where a person who stands on the musalla as well. You might have that person who stands on the musalla, but when he stands on the musalla, head down and back and everything, and look, this is tawazu to be standing in such a manner. But Nabi Kareem said, nobody had as much tawazu as Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't stand in such a manner. Nabi sallallahu stood upright when he was in his salah. So are you going to say that is pride and arrogance? So there will be those who think that this is what humility is. That you need to be in such a low posture all the time. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarifies here, that waqsid fi mashik. That it doesn't mean that now you walk in a slow manner, in a dying manner here. We have such humility in that any non-Muslim sees, and just seeing how this person walks knows that, oh, this is a Muslim there, never mind, go past and just give him a nudge and then topple him over and mess about with him. And do whatever you want with him, but no. They shouldn't get that impression at all. Because when a Muslim walks, everybody knows that a Muslim is walking. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala, when he would walk, even Shaitan knew that Umar is coming. And there was nobody as humble as Umar radiallahu ta'ala as well. But that humility was not in his walk. That humility was not in how he presented himself. Because this is not how a Muslim and a Mu'min presents himself. And neither should a Muslim be in such a manner. So there should always be what? That humility which is there in the heart. So when you're walking on earth as well, Nabi Kareem's walk itself, there was authority in the walk of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There wasn't an apparent tawazu in that sense in the walk of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There was firmness in it. There was authority in the walk of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. walk with authority, but there should never be arrogance in the heart when you're walking, because Allah Ta'ala knows what is in your heart. If you walk with arrogance, Allah Ta'ala knows what's in the heart. That shouldn't be there. So there shouldn't be this form of walking of a weak individual. So waqsid fi mashika, there should be moderation. Meaning that it should be in a good pace, not too slow and not too fast, hastily, wherein you're going to put yourself into danger and you're going to be pinballing other people as well. So a person's walk should not be in such a manner. And then Allah Ta'ala says, وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ, and also lower your voice. This is all adab al-ma'ashara been mentioned here. These are all the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes here. That when you speak as well, do not be fahash, sakhab, meaning do not be one that is loud. Do not be one that is immoral in his speech. Do not be one that is foul-mouthed. Speak, then speak, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here, وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ, and lower your voice. Speak gently to people, in such a manner that is clear. Hence in Aisha, and this hadith also mentions, that Umar would not walk in such a manner. And when Umar would speak, people would understand what Umar is saying. That he would speak in such a manner that it wouldn't be so gentle that those around can't hear and keep on having to say, sorry, repeat yourself, what did you say, what did you say, repeat yourself. So it wouldn't be in such a manner that they could not understand. And neither would it be that the voice would be so high as well, and it would be so raised. Why? Because in ankar al-aswat la sawt al-hamir. Some people naturally have a very high pitch. They need to control that. This is the imtihan, this is where every person has to, like so many other matters as well. There will be those who have anger in them. Some people may not have so much anger in them. The one who does have anger needs to know how to control that anger. So they can't say, it's not my fault, I've been created with so much anger in me. Control that anger. Whatever we have in our akhlaq, we need to lower, we need to change it. Here as well, if a person is loud in his voice, it is something that Allah Ta'ala dislikes. That when a person speaks, you think they're yelling. You have to tell them, don't yell at me. They're speaking, but they're yelling, isn't it? It's just normal talk. One is a person that is actually yelling, but then normal talk itself is that of yelling. And describing Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Sahaba mentioned that Nabi Karim would not yell even in the markets. Because the market is somewhere wherein there's a lot of sound there. People are yelling about that, you have to raise your voice, but even in such environments, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would not raise his voice in such a manner. Why? Because a raised voice, Allah Ta'ala mentions, in the ankar al-aswati la sawtul hamir. Indeed, the most hateful of sound is the braying of a donkey, meaning high pitch. That when a person speaks, when they raise the voice, sometimes the voice doesn't come out so good, and it doesn't sound good, that's what it means. And Allah gives the similitude with that of a donkey. That when a donkey brays, it is the worst of sounds. It doesn't sound anything good. So when a person speaks in such a high-pitched sound, it has an effect on the ears, and it doesn't sound good as well. So avoid that and do not speak in such a raised voice. So if naturally that is something, that is the way you talk, then it means what? Control it. Practice it. At home, speak at home, and your friends or those around, and ask them, look, I speak to you, am I yelling at you? Is my pitch too loud? On the telephone as well. You could understand in the past when people used to phone from overseas and they used to yell on the phone. Sometimes that happens itself now. The person is just not a few streets away or in the same city and that. Now you don't have to, even those overseas don't need to yell over the phone as well. But it's become, that is how our minds have become, that we need to yell for them. So people have the habit of yelling. They're not far away and they're yelling on the phone as well. So وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشْي وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here mentions, one is وَلَا تُصَائِرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. When you speak with people, do not turn your face away from them. Do not be arrogant towards them. Let them know that look, you are listening to them, that you are there for them. Do not show your arrogance towards them. They should feel that look, they are welcome to talk to you. They should feel that look, you are there to help them. And these are all from what? The qualities of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. And then وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. When you walk as well, do not walk with pride and arrogance. And then the third is وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشْيِكَ. Mashyika, your walk should also be one of moderation. And the fourth is وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ, the lower your voice. These are all from akhlaq hasana. These are all from akhlaq hasana. Where these things are not found in an individual, then that person is disliked by people. People will dislike such a person, so this person is an arrogant person. This person has pride in them. They have too much pride and arrogance in them. That this person is a bit clumsy in the manner in which they walk. This person is one who just yells and fights all the time. Because if they're yelling, they just talk, some people just talking, but they're yelling. And the person they talk to will say, why are you arguing with me for? Why are you fighting with me for? While they're not arguing or fighting with you, they're just talking normally with you. But it's the way that they speak. Aladul khisam sama. Some to that extent as well, that they like to fight as well, which is really disliked. And when they do as well, and they come towards it fajr, then it's a case of language. There's no restriction on their language at that time as well. These are all those things which are totally against the way of a Muslim and against the akhlaq of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these are what? These are the advice that Luqmaan gave to his son. And the advices that he gave were very auspicious, precious advice that he gave, that Allah Ta'ala mentions them in the Qur'an. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names the surah as also as Surah Luqmaan. So we should also bring these in us. And as I mentioned previously as well, one is ilm and one is adat. Ilm and adat. And adat always precedes over ilm. That's what happens. We have an adat. Our habit is of raising our voice. This is how we speak, for example. Now we've acquired ilm. That is what Baghdad means. So now we have ilm. But what happens is, ilm is put to one side. The adat always remains ghalib. That always remains on the forefront. Adat, because it becomes an adat. We need to change that. That this is my adat, and my adat is of doing something wrong. Now I have knowledge, let me change that adat. And it takes a while as well. You might do it a couple of times, you totally forget about it, because adat is adat. After habit is a habit, you forget about it. And then you remember, you do it again, you do it again. Just the way you adopted the wrong habit, you can adopt the correct habit as well. And the wrong habit came about, why? Because from maybe a young age, nobody told you. And because nobody told you, you develop that habit after a period of time. Same, even if it takes a whole lifetime as well. To adopt a good habit, adopt a good habit. That even in that pursuit, even if you hadn't totally adopted it, but you were trying, and it took you very long to do so, you'll still be from amongst those who had that adat, had that good habit. Allah Ta'ala grant us all understanding, the ability to practice upon these things and inculcate within us good habits. And it is from these ayat that we understand the whole concept of adab al-ma'ashar. The whole concept of adab al-ma'ashar, the whole roots are coming back to the hadith of Nabi Kareem Sallam, the sunnah of Nabi Sallam, and the ayats of the Qur'an. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. And in the walking of a Muslim as well, one advice as well to many of our youngsters who may be listening. In 28, 29, 30 degrees of heat and that, you shouldn't be wearing a coat. You shouldn't be wearing a jacket either. If a Muslim youth is going to be walking around with, when others are totally topless. And this youngster youth here, he's got his hoodie on. He's got his coat and his jacket on as well. Then, there's something that I tell the students as well. This adat of the adat is, I don't know, is it just that they feel cold? If they feel cold, then they need to go to the doctor. It's an adat, it's not a good adat either. It's not a good adat either, isn't it? There was time in the past wherein it would be snowing as well, it would be raining as well. And the parents would have to force the children to put a jersey or something on. You know what I mean? So that is how it was before. And now it's a case of you have to force them to take these things off. They'll wear the hoodie as well, and they'll wear the pom-pom caps and everything as well. In colors as well. That just takes away the masculinity of a person, the manhood of a person as well. It's all against Waqsid fi Mashik. All against the shan, the identity of a believer. Allah Ta'ala grant us all the understanding of this as well.